Witches, Tiffany here on Bewitching.Bemused. Today we are going to go over how to make a self-empowerment and confidence jar. This was a request from John Elwinger. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm so sorry if I'm not. And I love it. I love making these, and it's actually, I took one apart like many months ago and I never made a new one. So now's about the time to do that, because these are always great to have on hand. Now, of course, there are always one-off spells that you can do if you need a little confidence boost for something like a job interview, an audition, a first date, your wedding, whatever. But I love the jar format because it's something you are always working with. You're always charging it up by adding new things to it, taking certain things out that you may want to use in something else. You should always have it on hand, kind of working with it. I don't mean like in your purse, but you know, have it around, maybe on your altar. I like to put mine on my beauty altar, not necessarily for the aesthetic, you know, the appearance aspect of it, although, you know, that's part of it, but also because I have mirrors on my beauty altar. So I get to see the jar, I work with the jar, and I'm seeing myself. It's sort of just, it all kind of works together. So like I said, this is not just about appearances. This is also about self-empowerment and confidence for you just in general. This is an act of self-love. This is to help you, you know, foster your confidence in your skills, your abilities, your talent, your power as a person. So just keep in mind, you don't have to limit it to just one thing. Now, this is a very personal process. I'm gonna let you guys in on my stuff, maybe not all of it, but some of it, to give you examples. But don't just follow step by step what I do. I want you to look around and figure out what fits into this jar for your specific areas that you want to feel more confident about, or things that you already feel good about and you want to continue to harvest that energy. But I am going to use my items as examples. If some of them work for you, great. And if they don't worry about it. Definitely find your own stuff. In addition to that, I encourage you to do something while making this that makes you feel really good about yourself. That could be listening to the song that you put at the end of your workout playlist because it just pumps you up and makes you go that extra mile. Or maybe it's just your favorite outfit that makes you feel really sexy or powerful or whatever it is. I was too lazy to do the outfit today, I'm not gonna lie, and since I'm gonna be recording, I can't really play music in the background, but I'm having a freaking fantastic hair day, so I'm just gonna be rocking that. Okay, let's pop on over to my altar and get started. Okay, so for the most part, you're gonna be filling this jar with things that are very specific to you that you wanna put in. But there's a few ingredients that I do recommend you use. First of all, a clean, empty jar. You want paper and pen. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can use ink colored correspondences if you want. You can use parchment paper. You can use colored construction paper correspondence. Totally up to you. You're gonna want a small candle. I recommend smaller because you're gonna let it burn all the way down, which of course takes a little bit of time. You can even use birthday candles if you want. Use whatever color you want. Today I'm using pink because I have a ton of pink candles that I don't use that often. And for me, it's all about self-love with the pink candles. So that's what I'm using. Another option that I might use for myself would be a royal blue. For me, I love that color, that or purple for confidence, self-empowerment, that sort of thing. And finally, not including all of the various other items you are going to add in here, you want a picture of yourself. Now, you want to choose not just some random selfie or whatever. I mean, you can, but don't make it random. Make sure it has purpose behind it. So for this is my first 10K. First of all, this is me at one of my fittest, my just lowest weight, fittest times of my life where I was looking and feeling good. Also, I had just completed a 10K, so I was feeling really good about myself. And this was something that I had spent a month or two training and preparing for. I was really excited about. Nobody would do it with me. Everybody was like, 10K, that's a bit much for me. So I did this all by myself. I was so proud of myself. So for me, this is my confidence picture. As for the various items, you'll get a better idea of what I mean by random things that are meaningful to you in just a minute. But I want you to find little trinkets, herbs, crystals that to you represent confidence, represent self-empowerment, remind you of things that you are already confident about, that you already feel great about, that are yours. They're solely yours. things that remind you of times in your life when you were proud of yourself, when you did something, you had a huge accomplishment. You know, that's really what you want to put in this jar. So when I say something like personal trinkets, that could be the tassel from your graduation cap. You can print out a copy of your resume if you're really proud of your hard work and, you know, fold it up and put it in. Something that you made if you enjoy being creative. Again, I'll use some of my personal stuff as examples, but really it's all about you because this is your jar. So really make it personal and have fun with it. Get creative. You know, that's what I always tell you guys. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do, aside from opening the jar, is taking our picture. We want this facing out. We want to be able to see it all the time. So we're gonna put it right there. This jar is now a little frame for our wonderful accomplishment. You can tape it in place if you want to, if that's easier to work with, but it doesn't matter. Now we're going to start filling this with some items, but keep in mind, I don't want you to fill it all the way to the brim. One reason for that is because we are going to put a piece of paper on top right in there. But the other reason for that is, like I said, we want to continuously charge this jar. We want to interact with it regularly. It works very similarly as like a money bowl does, or like if you watched my video on the spell jar for business success, you're gonna want to keep working with it. That keeps it personalized. It keeps it charged up and powerful. You can put stuff in, take stuff out. So I always recommend, you know, just filling it. I mean, you could do halfway, you could do a little further, that's fine. Just leave a little bit of empty space in there. Another note is to always make sure you have a purpose for each of your items. Don't just throw in an herb or crystal because a book told you, hey, this corresponds with confidence. If to you, it does also correspond with confidence, like you feel that makes sense to you, then by all means, put it in. But don't just put things in willy-nilly because you found it in a blog. You guys probably know my opinion on correspondences. If not, I have 2 videos all about it. But just always make sure they have a purpose. And as we're going to charge each item with its purpose as well. You're going to take a moment, charge it up, just visualize what the reason you're putting it in there, what it stands for to you, and then add it to the jar. So I'm going to start off with rose petals. I love rose petals for self-love and they smell really good. So we're going to start off with a base of rose petals. It smells good. So next item I'm going to put in here, I probably should have put it at the bottom because it's kind of heavy, but I'm going to put a string of pearls. I don't have a single pearl to toss in, so we're just going to use these ones. But I love what pearls represent. Not only are they, well, beautiful, obviously, but pearls are created because a little piece of sand or an irritant gets inside of an oyster or a clam, and it's annoying, you know? So what they end up doing is coating it, and they keep coating it with this lubricant until eventually it creates a pearl. So I love this representation of taking something that, you know, anything from, yes, like a minor irritation to a huge setback, a roadblock, something that could cause you harm, and turning it into something productive, something beneficial. It's taking a negative and turning it into a positive, even if it's just something as simple as taking a negative situation or experience and walking away from it going, okay, I learned a lesson from that. I'm a little bit wiser for having experienced that. Next up, I have a little bit of lavender. To me, this is a chill the out herb. I have to constantly remind myself that I need to chill out. I am so addicted to being productive all the time that I don't always set boundaries for myself, whether that's just time limits or telling other people no, or telling myself, no, you need a break. Sometimes resting can be just as productive as working. I have to constantly remind myself that I don't have to feel guilty or anxious about just taking a day for myself, taking a day to unwind and relax and de-stress. So for me, that's what the lavender is for. This is a little piece of, I don't know if it's focusing right, Rose of Jericho. It's a little clipping that fell off naturally. If you've watched my video on Rose of Jericho, then you know all about some of the magical properties of this amazing plant. Now, what I love this for, to represent specifically for this, is resilience. The Rose of Jericho, this plant can live so long without water, without light. It just dries up, folds in on itself, it does what it needs to do to take care of itself, and then eventually, when it gets water, it reopens and turns green. Because as you'll see, this looks very dry and dead, but believe me, it's not. So strength, resilience, perseverance, that's something that I'm not only pretty proud of, my own resilience, but it's also something that I want to continue on. This is self-empowerment. This isn't just confidence. This is anything that gives you strength goes in this jar. I'm also adding some rosemary because rosemary corresponds with confidence, which is a correspondence I do agree with. I just think that both the scent and the flavor of rosemary it's not overpowering, but at the same time it's very robust. It's like, if I can personify an herb for a second, I would say that rosemary is very confident without being cocky. Like, it's very sure of itself, but it's not arrogant. I hope that makes sense to anybody besides me. Okay, so now I'm gonna start getting to the little personalized trinkets. So bear with me. Like I said, these are just examples. They're very personal. So you might also agree with these ones so far. You know, the rose petals, pearls, Rose of Jericho, rosemary, lavender, blah, blah. But the rest of it, you may go like, well, Tiff, you didn't live my life. So basically what these things mean to me won't mean the same thing for you, and that's perfectly fine. So I want you to find your own little trinkets, little items that work. Again, mine are just examples. So the first thing that I have is this little rock that called out to me. This was from a particularly difficult hike. Now, the time that I picked this up was not the first time I had done this hike. The first time I had done this hike was way more difficult because I was not even close to being in good shape at the time. Some people had invited me and I thought, sure, I think I can do that. And I did. And I was actually insanely proud of myself for even completing the hike, because to me at that time, I mean, even now it's still a difficult hike for me, but at that time, that was a hard hike. On top of it, when we were close to the peak, maybe 15-20 minutes down, it started hailing. Oh boy. Well, about halfway up it started raining and then it started hailing. So I was already dripping wet and then I'm slipping and sliding in mud. But you know what? I still made it to the top and I am damn proud of that. I felt so good after that hike. I mean, I was exhausted, but I was just so proud of myself for not only physically getting through it, but also just having the mental strength to be like, I'm not turning back. I'm almost there. I'm gonna finish this. And I did. And I've been on that hike many, many, many times now, and I still love it, but it is still difficult. So I did pick this up on one of my recent hikes there because it was just calling my name. So I am putting this in there for not only the pride that I felt, but also just harnessing that determination that I felt at the time. Just grabbing a hold of that same energy and just being like, I want that always in my life. So boom, you are going in the jar. Along that same vein, I did want to suggest dirt from a pioneer cemetery if you have any nearby you. Of course, if you're curious about cemetery dirt, I do have a video all about that. But a viewer actually did email me recently and say that he did have dirt from a pioneer cemetery and that he thought it was really useful in for qualities of determination and strength, which I completely agree with. I love that idea. If you have a pioneer cemetery nearby, I think some soil from a pioneer cemetery would be a wonderful addition to this jar. Just a little tip. Next, I have a couple of these cute little teeny tiny seashells. Now these I picked up on a beach the one and only time I was ever topless in public. Now, this may seem like a mildly inappropriate memory for me to bring up in this video, but you know what? Screw it. The reason I did it, we were alone. I'm not gonna lie. It was like me and a couple friends, and we were alone on this beach. And I just went, you know what? I don't care if somebody walks by. It's legal to be topless on this beach. I want to do it. And I did, and I've never done it since, but I was feeling good about myself. Not just like, hey, I look great topless, but I mean, in the sense of like, I wanted to do something wild. I wanted to do something kind of out of character for me, and something that just made me feel like a woman. Like it made me feel like I own this body. This is my body. I'll do with it what I want, kind of. That is what these little seashells mean to me. That's my little personal story. So next up, I have a couple of pesos. These are from Mexico. But these specific coins, I got these while I was working for Carnival Cruise Lines. Now, this was in my early 20s. When I went to go work for Carnival Cruise Lines, it was sort of on a whim. I had come across the job posting on Craigslist, I think, and I was, 22 at the time, and I was just in a weird rut in life. I was in a weird place, so I went, let me just apply and see what happens. And I applied to be a host, so I was an entertainment host. And I was surprisingly hired. I don't know if I wasn't expecting it. I just thought the job sounded so cool that I was like, there's no way they're gonna hire me, but they did. And the reason I want to put this in here is because that was really the first time in my life I felt truly independent. It was the first time I was away from home, like really on my own. I was still living with my parents at the time. I had never really traveled solo before, so I was doing both of those things, and I was partaking on this adventure that I knew almost nothing about by myself. I had nobody there, nobody I knew to catch me if I fell. I didn't know anybody who had ever worked this kind of job before, so I really had no clue what I was getting into, which was, a little impulsive, but it worked out. And it was also, I learned so much during that time that I worked for them. I really started to become my own person at that time. I became very independent. I felt that my personality and just me allowing myself to be me started to flourish. That had started already in college theater, but this really opened up the floodgates. And the other thing I learned during that time was the power of the word no. I learned that I was allowed to say no. I learned that no was a complete sentence. I don't owe anybody an explanation beyond just a no. And I kind of just learned to accept that I could say it. I was allowed to say no. And I'm not gonna lie, that's something I still struggle with a bit today, but the fact that the foundation of that lesson started there is very, very, it makes that time very meaningful to me in so many ways. And so that's what these represent to me from that time. So I'm gonna charge them up, put them in. Okay, so I had a final item, but I'm actually going to combo it up. So I did tell you to have a piece of paper and a pen. I think I told you, yeah. I was gonna actually put a sheet of paper from this little journal in here as a trinket, but I'm gonna combo this up and use this for my piece of paper as well. I may as well. This is actually my creative ideas journal. My creativity is something that I am always proud of. The execution is not always perfect, of course, but I am always riddled with ideas, whether that's ideas for videos for the channel or novel ideas, short story ideas, sketch comedy ideas, joke ideas, and usually they go in this little notebook. I carry it around with me everywhere. It's just jam-packed full of meaning and memories and inspiration and pride for me. So I'm going to tear a little page out of the back of it, and I'm going to use this for our final or second to final step in this whole thing. So this is going to be a list, but it's also going to be, I just want it to be a stream of consciousness. Don't think twice about what you're writing. If you get stuck and you need to stop and like think of ideas, that's fine, but don't hesitate. If something pops into your head and you want to write it down, I think you should write it down. So just write a list, and it doesn't have to be straight down, just scribble all over. It doesn't even have to be legible, it's fine. Write your list of things that you are proud of, things that make you proud of yourself, things that you have accomplished, qualities, talents, or skills that you have that you know you're good at, that you're confident in, things that make you feel powerful, that make you feel good about yourself, that make you happy. List all of your strengths on this piece of paper. And that could be, saying like, I'm an honest, you could write honesty if you're proud of the fact that you're a very honest person. Or you could write, a CEO, if that's your job title that you're proud of. It doesn't just have to be like a list of adjectives or qualities. It could be, a memory from an accomplishment that you have, something like that. Just like I said, stream of consciousness, just write down all the things about yourself that you love. Now, if you'll excuse me for a second, I'm not going to share mine because it's a little personal, so sorry. But keep in mind, we're also going to add to this list. You don't have to leave any extra space if you don't want to. You can, but you can always put a second piece of paper in there later and keep adding to the list. So if you forget stuff now, it's okay. Don't worry about it. If you think of it later, just pull it out, add to it, put it back in. No worries. So with that, I'm going to fold it towards you, because you are keeping it in your life. You are always keeping it in mind. You are always remembering these great qualities about yourself. So you don't beat yourself up. You don't feel down about yourself. I'm turning it clockwise and folding it again. Clockwise again, folding it up. Yeah, that's good enough. It doesn't have to be super small. And I'm dropping it in. So if you cannot burn things for whatever reason, you do not have to do this final step. I just like to burn candles because to me, that is the symbol that I am igniting this. I am starting up this jar. I'm setting it on fire. It is alive now. So to me, that's what it represents, but do not feel obligated. You can do something else that is symbolic of the same thing. But here we go. This is the finished jar for now. So I'm going to take my candle. If you want to carve into it, you can. You do not have to. I am going to just lightly anoint mine with some rose oil. Again, more rose, self-love, and I'm going to anoint it downward, again, towards me, because these are things I'm bringing into my life. I'm bringing more confidence and self-love and empowerment into my life. Oh, it smells so good that it might be my favorite scent in the whole world. So I'm just going to fix this on top. As always, practice fire safety. Put this in a sink or a tub, or keep your eyes on it at all times if you have to. Just don't let it burn your house down. Here we go. Boom, it's lit. So from here, we're just gonna let it burn all the way down. If you wanna say a few things over it, that's totally up to you. Otherwise, once it's all the way burnt down, it is ignited, it's working, you're good to go. For me, like I said, I'm gonna put this on my beauty altar because it's right by mirrors, and I use it every day, so I'm constantly gonna be looking at it, working with it. I can charge it up, say a little something to it, whatever you wanna do, breathe. Actually, like literally breathe life into it. So you can put yours wherever you want. Another good place for it is in a lot of sunlight. You're keeping it lit up, you're keeping it alive in your house. You want to have a spotlight on it. You're paying attention to it, you're focusing on it, because you want that empowerment to be alive in your life all the time, right? So there you go, there's another idea, but it's totally up to you. And I think that's it. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you had a great time making your jar. Good luck with yours. I'm super excited. I would love to hear what you put in yours and how they turned out. Even post pictures on Instagram and, tag me in them. John, thank you so much. That was a wonderful suggestion and I was super excited to make this video. Everybody else, I will see you all next week. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.